oxytocin is relational dopamine, then serotonin is your safe place. It is your inner stabilizer, your inner foundation. It's where you feel alive and safe and yourself in your own skin. And significantly, it's where you rest. It's how you're able to sleep when the world is a crazy place. More on sleep in a minute. But we're on number 3 of the big 4, right? Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. Today, it's serotonin. Let's start with a couple of fun facts. Fun fact number 1, 90% of your body's serotonin is made in the gut. The rest is made in the brain. Now, like dopamine, serotonin does not cross the blood-brain barrier. So that which is made in the gut is for the gut, and that which is made in the brain is for the brain. But the 90% that's made in the gut affects signaling directly and indirectly through the vagus nerve and the gut-brain connection. So the bottom line is you must have a happy gut to have a happy brain. More on this later. Back to the fun facts. Serotonin is synthesized from HTP, which comes from tryptophan. Tryptophan is an essential amino acid. You have to get it from food. That turns into 5-HTP. 5-HTP is further broken down to 5-HT, which is serotonin. And the body needs several cofactors to pull off this synthesis, including vitamin B6, iron, folate, and magnesium. In the brain, serotonin shapes mood, stability, confidence, impulse control, pain modulation, and sleep, as I mentioned before, because serotonin turns into melatonin at night. In the body, it affects gut motility and also the gut-brain connection via vagal signaling. So let's just jump to our 2 questions. What hijacks serotonin and how do we fix it? How do we counteract that hijacking? Once again, there are like biological, chemical factors, and there are behavioral / habitual factors. We're going to focus more on the behavioral ones, and we'll briefly address the chemistry. Not because the chemistry stuff is not important. It is highly important, but once again, there's a barrier of entry, right? People who want this to be intensely practical. So what hijacks serotonin? Public enemy number 1, chronic stress and high cortisol. Here's why. Under stress, rest is not the body's top priority. Survival is the body's top priority. So tryptophan gets shunted as a raw ingredient down the kynurenine pathway instead of the serotonin pathway. Again, you don't care. What you do care about is that instead of peace and confidence, the happy juice at the end of that metabolic pathway, what you get is edgy and wired. You are prepped for a fight. As I like to say in the context of like mast cell activation, your body is all dressed up and nowhere to go. Now, not only do you not have the happy juice that you should have to spare, but you got a bunch of jitter juice that needs to be burned off. In a kid, this is going to display as the wiggles and the giggles, or intolerance, irritation, just anger, moods, ADHD. In an adult, it just displays as the adult version of all of those things, right? So stress is enemy number 1. Number 2, inflammation and gut dysbiosis. An irritated gut lining equals noisy signaling between the brain factory and the gut factory where it gets its instructions from. The former are yelling, as it were, across the assembly line, but there is a freight train going through the place and the message is getting lost. The message is this: if you want to be happy, if you want a peaceful and contented brain, you must have a happy gut. A happy, peaceful, and content gut, there's just no way around it. So number 2 is gut inflammation. Number 3, which is an expansion off of number 2, is nutrient gaps. This is especially significant for vegans and vegetarians. Protein is the raw ingredient, is the source for essential amino acids like tryptophan. And of course, tryptophan is the raw ingredient for serotonin, the precursor. Low protein from which that tryptophan, the essential amino acid, is synthesized, or low B6, low iron, low folate, low magnesium, equals stalled production. Your body might want to make it, but simply cannot. Enemy number 4 is circadian chaos. Too little morning light, too much evening light, too much screen time, too much blue light, or irregular sleep patterns overall. Those things all blunt daytime serotonin production, which in turn affects nighttime melatonin production. So here's the $1 million question. How do we reverse this? Number 1, tend to the gut. Tending to the gut, of course, means a lot of things, but in part, it means more prebiotic foods. That's high soluble fiber foods, because those are the foods for probiotics in your gut. You're trying to calm and diversify the microbiome. As an extension of that, you also have to address biotic status, especially fungal overgrowths and bacterial overgrowths or other forms of dysbiosis related to those. If you're dealing with some kind of overgrowth, but you're trying to make the brain function anyway, it's really like your house being on fire and you're outside in the yard watering the grass. You can do that, but it's basically a useless exercise. Now, obviously, a lot goes into fighting a chronic infection, and that's too big a discussion for this moment right now. But you could start with supplements like allicin, berberine. If your gut is also inflamed, then anti-inflammatories like mast cell stabilizers, quercetin, luteolin, curcumin, magnesium. And if your gut is leaky, you're going to want to jumpstart gut repair with amino acids like glutamine, threonine, arginine, omega-3s, vitamin E, vitamin D, vitamin C. And remember, if you have MCAS on top of that, you're going to have to cycle through those in order for them to be effective. All that to say, you have to tend to the gut. Secondly, if we're talking about solutions, you have to nourish the system. Again, tryptophan is an essential amino acid that comes from protein, legumes, pumpkin seeds, eggs, particularly good sources. If your gut is compromised, then your system will have a much harder time getting the raw ingredients that it needs to repair itself, right? So you get into this kind of chicken and egg scenario. Which comes first? Which do you fix? Your gut needs to be healed so that it can process the raw ingredients, but you need the raw ingredients so your gut can heal. Bottom line, you have to think about more than just killing bad guys. We've kind of, for an entire generation, approached gut health from, eat your yogurt, take your probiotics, and you should be good. It is a little bit more complicated, more nuanced than that. And yet, small steps will get you a really long ways. Number 3, rebuild rhythm. One could argue that this one is the most important. The light-dark cycle during the day is what governs the production and the management of serotonin, and by extension, its daughter, melatonin. You need light in the morning. It doesn't have to be a lot of light, 5 to 10 minutes, eyes to the sky. Then try to move in the middle of the day. Walk, cycle, lift, again, 20, 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be a bunch. And then in the evening, cut out screens after 6 p.m., which is really hard because we get to the end of our workday. Like, I know I'm the chief offender with this one. You get to the end of your workday and you just want to chill. We've got to find other ways to chill. That's the bottom line. Because we're setting up our brain to not be able to chill all night long by staring into that blue light. And it's not just about screen time either. We need a consistent sleep window, 7 to 9 hours. Again, if you're trying to get from the middle of Nowheresville, Nebraska, which is not a real place, to Timbuktu, which is a real place, you're depending on the airlines to stick to the schedules that they wrote literally months ago. If they don't, if the airlines, or even just a few airline pilots, decided on any given day, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep in this morning. Or, you know what, I'm not tired, I'm going to work a little later tonight. I'll start late in the morning. I just don't feel like going. I don't feel like going this one time. I'm just going to skip. It literally would not take more than a few hours, and you would have millions of passengers sitting in airports with misconnections that came late or left early or just decided not to come or go at all. Like immediately, millions of problems. And anyone who's flown over a holiday through a snowstorm can attest to this. Spoiler alert, your body and mind are far more complex than the airline transportation system. Like by far. Fortunately, our bodies are also smarter. So we put them through this kind of chaos and somehow they find a way. They find a way, but never without consequence. Just don't do it. Don't put your body through it, especially if your serotonin is already compromised. Lastly, targeted supplementation. Certain supplements, obviously, with all supplements, you want to use them wisely. Certain ones are much lower gravity than others. Things like vitamin C and magnesium, really easy. Things like vitamin B or iron, a little bit more tricky. Omega-3s, everyone can use more omega-3s. 5-HTP or L-tryptophan can help, but they're also easy to overdo. So you don't want to just take 5-HTP willy-nilly. Also, in the context of B vitamins, you have to know your methylation status. So in summary, what are the fixes, the approach. We're talking about the brain, but ultimately, most of the solutions for this one are not in the brain. It's gut health, sleep, and maybe supplementation. The last one's a little bit more complicated because it depends, right? But the first two, we can definitely do something about right now. A couple of videos ago when I was talking about dopamine, I said, don't watch social media in the morning. Never watch social media in the morning. Remember that? Now I'm also telling you, never watch social media in the evening. I guess that leaves lunch break, which kind of feels like a joke, but actually it is my conclusion. It is my conviction that the chickens have not come home to roost. They barely started coming home to roost on the science of screen usage and media addictions. Like the data is trickling in, but it hasn't reached critical mass. I predict that in 10 years, we will be able to prove definitively what we can only see dimly right now, like by association. And the question will be, in 10 years, will we be able to backtrack? Will we be able to reclaim the ground that we've lost? And I mean the psychological ground that we've lost, but also the biological ground that we've lost. Will our endocrine systems be so shot as to be in irreparable free fall? Or will we actually be like, how much more can the endocrine system take? I don't know. But it begs a question. What if we powered down the screens and went out and sat under a tree and watched the sun set? What would happen? Lots of things, probably. One thing I can say for sure, your serotonin would thank you. Next time. Endorphins. Endorphins are your built-in pain buffer, your natural happiness system. If you want more resilience, more joy, more fireworks in your life, then this one is for you. And if something here clicked, as always, drop a comment, subscribe, share this with somebody else who needs to hear it too.